final backbench contribution, Iqbal Mohamed.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I, of course, like everybody across this House, as a proud British citizen, support the government's efforts and its intentions, the growth strategy and its efforts to agree mutually beneficial trade agreements between countries after the debacle of Brexit and the loss of the collective bargaining and the benefits that we enjoyed under membership of the EU. I joined my honourable friend, the member for Bradford East, and my honourable friend, the member for Birmingham Perry Barr, and associate myself with their remarks around the absolute mandatory obligation on Britain to ensure that whatever trade deals we negotiate with whichever country, wherever in the world, that human rights are front and centre in those negotiations. Thousands of my Kashmiri diaspora constituents and their families are suffering. They've been suffering for nearly 80 years, and it's about time that Britain took a lead in helping alleviate the issue of Kashmir, the occupation, the illegal treatment of the citizens there, and the illegal occupation, and allow them the right to self-determination. Building on the issues around human rights, I also, joining them, stand here today to express my profound sadness and disappointment that we are signing a free trade agreement with the leader of a Hindu nationalist governing party that has for decades violently persecuted Muslims, Christians, Dalits and other minorities in India for their religious beliefs or their class status, and the millions of people in occupied Kashmir. Most egregiously, as Chief Minister of Gujarat in 2002, Modi facilitated a pogrom that resulted in over 1,000 individuals, the majority of whom were Muslims, murdered amidst widespread reports of sexual violence, looting and property destruction. The exact death toll of the Gujarat riots is unclear, but it's estimated to exceed 1,000 men, women, children, the vast majority of whom were Muslim. According to Genocide Watch, during the massacres, at least 250 women and girls were gang raped before being burnt to death. A mob of 5,000 people set fire to houses in Muslims in Ahmedabad's Narodia Bhatia neighbourhood, resulting in the death of over 65 people. Before being burned and hacked to death, women and girls were gang raped in public. Their male family members were forced to watch the rapes, and then they were killed. A couple of heartbreaking examples. Hina Kosa from Naroda Bhatia was pregnant when she was raped. Several eyewitnesses testified that she was raped and tortured, and that her womb was slit open with a sword to extract the fetus, which was then hacked to pieces and burnt alive alongside the mother. Bilkis Yaqub Rasul was 5 months pregnant when she was gang raped. 14 members of her family, including her 3-year-old daughter, were murdered in front of her eyes. The Gujarat government has now granted early release to all 11 of her convicted rapists. Madam Deputy Speaker, I was there myself in Ahmedabad on the first day and for the subsequent days of these riots. I climbed to the rooftop of my uncle's home and I watched the city burn around me. Black smoke was bellowing from every direction. I saw firsthand how the leader of a state facilitated and stood by as fanatics murdered, raped and pillaged their way through Muslim communities and neighbourhoods. Modi was complicit in this ethnic cleansing, even if attempts to achieving legal justice have so far proved futile. Since then, he has continued to refuse to accept any responsibility or to apologise for the events that took place, thereby adding insult to injury to the bereaved victims and families. As Prime Minister of India, Modi continues to engage in faith-based oppression of India's Muslim, Christian and other minority populations, Homes, businesses and places of worship are unlawfully and arbitrarily demolished, a phenomenon that Amnesty International has labelled bulldozer injustice. Communal violence against Muslims is rife, with mob violence and lynchings on a daily or weekly basis. So I gently remind the government of how innocent civilians are being treated by this government with whom we are signing this trade deal, and to do everything in its power to get the best deal we can, but without compromising the principles of human rights for all. Muslims, Christians, Dalits and others are relegated to the status of second-class citizens and subject to collective punishment. And instead, the government therefore should pursue an economic diplomacy that recognises the importance of religious tolerance and pushes to promote peaceful coexistence of groups with different beliefs. Signing this trade agreement and with it exchanging a reduction in tariffs for our values sends a dangerous signal to the world that religious bigotry and violations of international human rights law are permissible. Yeah. Since Brexit, successive UK governments have shifted away from integrating enforceable human rights clauses into trade deals, instead opting for profit over people by adopting a values-free approach that starkly diverges from the human and workers' rights provisions that the EU, albeit imperfectly, championed. Shame on them, I say, and shame on this deal. The government should follow the Human Rights Committee's proposals that standard human rights protections should be included in all agreements and begin to treat human rights as something that applies to all individuals of any religion anywhere in the world. Thank you.
I now come to the Shadow Minister, Dame Harriet Baldwin.